We are here with Steve Nieve, legendary and Grammy Award-winning pianist and keyboardist of The Imposters, of Elvis Costello and The Imposters. And he's also shared the stage with the likes of the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Bono, Sting, Squeeze, Lou Reed. The list goes on, as they say. And we're here to talk about his latest project with Curates.
Yes.
Hello, Steve.
Hello there.
So, what was the first record you ever bought?
That's an interesting question. I think the first record I ever bought was called Electric Warrior by a group called T-Rex. And it was great because it made me discover that there were such things as electric instruments, and which changed a lot of things for me because I had been brought up as a classical musician playing classical music. And suddenly these electric instruments just blew my mind away. So I wanted to play electric guitar or a synthesizer. So yes, electric instruments. I don't know where all those records are anymore, but some of them, probably the classical ones, are still at my parents' house. But they were vinyl records, and I loved them so much because the covers were great. And yeah.
And what about the last record you bought?
Well, the last record I bought was actually a record by a singer called Ron Sexsmith. He made an album recently called Hermitage. And I love Ron. He worked with me and Muriel Teodori, who wrote the opera Welcome to the Voice that I composed music for. And Ron was there when we first did it at the Town Hall in New York. I will have to edit that bit. I got jammed up. We were there at the Town Hall New York, and Ron's voice is like a sort of honey. It sort of goes all over the place, and it's so beautiful to listen to, and his melodies. So I would suggest anyone to search out Ron's albums. Some of them you can get them on vinyl. Have a listen to them, they're great records. I love his lyrics as well.
And this might be a tricky one, but all-time favorite record?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit here because my all-time favorite record is called This Year's Model, and it's my all-time favorite record because it was the first album that I ever played on. And it's also, I think, one of Elvis's greatest albums. It's a very unique album. It's got a very unique sound to it, mainly because I think we recorded it quite quickly, and it was really because we'd played more gigs in the year than there are days in the year. So I think we knew the songs, like the inside of our pockets, as the French say. And so it was a marvellous experience making that album. It was my first time in the studio, really, and also we were working with a producer called Nick Lowe, who has, when you're under the microscope of a recording studio, it's great to have someone like Nick there because he makes you feel at home and everything is okay, So it was great working with Nick on those early albums. He produced most of our early records.
Oh, wow. Any other record, audio or artwork, that influenced your latest project on Curates?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I thought about the record that came out. When it came out, I bought it on vinyl, and it was a sort of revolution, this record. It was the work of two fantastic artists, David Byrne and Brian Eno, and it's called In the Bush of Ghosts. And what I liked about it was sort of a collage of things that they had just taken from all over the place. And so I don't think Fuji Rama is anything like it, but it's that sort of thing of and it was also at a time where we all had cassette players, and so you could record things onto cassettes for the first time. This was amazing for people, I know nowadays it's all different, but we used to make up cassettes with our playlists and things like that. And they had a sort of they had a very amazing sound to them, a vibey sound of a cassette, which is slowing down and speeding up and all these kind of things. So yeah, and that album was fantastic when it came out. It's there's lots of things on it, like just things they recorded off the radio, and it was completely crazy. Before, I mean, it was around about the same time that sampling started to take on, I guess.
When was this?
I don't know the exact year of it, but we can insert that into the interview later.
And what about your favorite record store in the whole world, and why?
Okay, well, I'm going to say Curate, actually, because I only just discovered them, but it's an amazing website where there's a lot of new artists and a lot of independent artists, and Curate have sort of invented a system that gives everyone the possibility to make a vinyl record, and that's, you know, that's part of the sort of fun of this project, because I can't wait to hear that kind of music that is on FujiRama with the sort of sound of vinyl running through it. You know, it's going to be great.
Can you tell us more about FujiRama?
Well, just that it's you know, one of the sort of essential ingredients of it is improvisation, which is something that you know, it's an art form in itself, and I'm really proud to have some other musicians with me who are improvising as well.
Mm-hmm. Like who?
And some of them are, I would say, masters of this particular thing, improvisation. So, for example, there's a guy called Ned Rothenberg who lives in Brooklyn, and he's an amazing musician, and he plays wind instruments.
Mm.
And he has developed sort of ways of playing them that are very unusual. For example, he plays wind instruments with no wind. So he doesn't actually blow down them, and he just makes other noises with them without actually blowing down them. So it's really great. And I went to see him play in New York with a tuba player, and the pair of them did not blow down their instruments until about halfway through the concert, which is incredible. I've got a friend of mine called Simon Fisher Turner, who is an amazing composer of film music and uses sort of electronics to make very minimalist music. I think in the beginning of Simon Fisher Turner's life, he was the film composer for Derek Jarman. So it's been interesting to work with him, because the idea of the project was that I made some sort of soundscapes with synthesizer, and then we improvised along with these things. When I sent the soundscape to Simon Fisher Turner, and he sent me back something, in fact, nothing resembled anything that I sent to him. It was incredible. He had transformed the whole thing. It was really exciting. It was great. And I'm also working with a young musician called Ajuk, who's become a kind of partner of the road with me. We've been doing some concerts together and writing music together, and so that's been a good influence as well, of someone maybe not who, you know, is coming from a slightly younger perspective. So that's been fine. And finally, the fourth guest on the album is David Coulter, who I met him. When I met him, we both had learned to play the didgeridoo, which is an Australian synthesizer of, Stone Age synthesizer. And we both were visited by this native Australian guy who was an expert on the thing, and who basically, I would say, inducted us into the gods of Australian music. It was really a weird session.
That's awesome.
I didn't realise that David had the same experience when he went on tour in Australia, so it was great.
Wow, this sounds wild. What was your favorite track from the project?
Well, actually, I'm going to give a slightly trick answer to this question. Is that because of COVID-19, we've all been in lockdown, and we decided to do some get-togethers using the Zoom app, and to play some music together across the internet. Now, those tracks were not really intended to be on the album, but I really like them, and so I like them because you can see everybody playing, etc. So those things, I'm going to turn them into bonus tracks for people who buy the album. They won't be available to internet people, but they will be digital extra bonus tracks.
On the vinyl?
Beside the vinyl.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because I would like that people that buy the vinyl can also have a digital version of it, but only people that buy the vinyl.